Hola, ¿cómo están? What is going on, everyone? DarkScheme here, bringing you a new tutorial, and this one is a little bit complicated. With the most recent update to Halo 5, they also added some advanced control settings, and for the most part, it's a little complicated, but after a little while of looking at it, understanding it, you guys will get the hang of it. So, very quickly, there are 3 new settings that were added to the Halo 5 Guardians update, and this is look acceleration and dead zones, both inner dead zone and outer dead zone. Now, for reasons of making this tutorial easy to understand, you will want to know that both dead zones go hand in hand, so these will be paired, and the look acceleration and look sensitivity will be paired together. Because each of these kind of work hand in hand, so for the most part, it'll be an easier explanation. So with look acceleration, let's look at what the setting says. The higher the setting, the faster the acceleration when the right stick is held to the edge. But for the most part, so you guys can understand what aim acceleration is, it's a time that it takes to reach maximum look speed, with the maximum look speed being your sensitivity. So, like I said, these go hand in hand. And kind of just to show you guys what the aim acceleration and the look acceleration really is, I'll kind of show you guys. It'll be hard to see, but this is pretty much what it is. So my look sensitivity is 4, so you will see that my look sensitivity is moving this fast, and this is the maximum speed that I will reach. Now, because I am at an aim acceleration of 1, that is the slowest, and that means that it'll take more time for me to go from 0%, meaning not moving my joystick at all, to 100% because my aim acceleration is 1. Now you can kind of notice this, and I will kind of point it out. So I'm at 0% right now, look speed, and I start right here, slow, and then it bumps up to 100%. So it's kind of ramping up to that speed, and if we change that setting, then you'll see that it'll go from 0 to 100% to maximum speed a lot quicker. Now, the parameters to work with are 1 through 5, with 1 being the slowest and 5 being the fastest. So there will be a lot less of a ramp up speed with this setting being at 5. So a reminder, I'm still at 4 look sensitivity and with look acceleration of 5. Now, let's see what this looks like. So as you can see, there is a faster ramping up speed. With a look acceleration of 1, there was a lot more of a noticeable acceleration, and we kind of reach a full 360 circle a lot faster because there's not much of a ramp speed. Now, for the most part, it is a good rule of thumb if you use a high sensitivity to have a low acceleration, and if you use a low sensitivity to use a high acceleration. Now, for me personally, I use 4, and personally for me, look sensitivity of 4 is kind of the in-between of having a low sensitivity or a high sensitivity. So for me personally, I like a look acceleration of 2, but if you guys were playing on 4 sensitivity and you had no problem shooting, you liked how you aimed, you liked how your shot was, then you can just leave this at 3 and there's no problem at all. Now, I leave it at 2, and if you're going to test this out, I do recommend that you guys leave your look sensitivity alone. Whatever you were using before this patch hit, leave it at that. So if you were using 6, leave it at 6 and move the aim acceleration around here and there, play a few games and see how it feels. Now, for the most part, the look acceleration is not going to change your aiming for the most part. Your aiming is all up to you. It's all about the look sensitivity, not the aim acceleration. The aim acceleration is just how much time it's going to take you to make a 180-degree turn, a 90-degree turn, and a whole 360-degree turn. So for the most part, when you're in an engagement, you're going to be looking a little bit here and a little bit there. So let's say that these canisters is a person, and I'm shooting them, and I'm kind of just jumping around. I thrust and I jump and shoot. That is not really going to affect your look acceleration. For the most part, it is only going to be when there's somebody behind you or somebody to your left. So you're going to jump and you look, and that's what the look acceleration looks to change. And having, like I said, a slower turn with the higher sensitivity will help because you will be able to go from 0% to 100% at an instant and kind of just stop at a good angle. So like I said, you're going to want to test this out. This is really just up to personal preference, and if you guys want to use other people's settings, you can try that, but I really want to emphasize that these settings are more so what you personally have to test out. Now, getting into dead zones. Dead zones is something that can be a little complicated, but for the most part, inner dead zones will be a very easy explanation. So the inner dead zone, if you read on the bottom of the screen, it says it prevents drift. And for the most part, it just means that sometimes when you're moving your stick around and you let go and your stick centers by itself, sometimes some sticks are a little too loose and they don't center themselves. So as you can see, my stick, I'm leaving it alone, it's not moving. But sometimes with players, they'll leave it to the center and it'll start to slowly move one way or the other, and that is what's called drift. So that's what you don't want. So for me, I don't have drift on my joystick, so I can just leave that setting at 0%. So you'll want to test this out yourself. And if you do find that your inner dead zone, you cannot leave at 0% because you do get drift, bump this up a little bit, go back into the game, move around, let go, so that your joystick centers itself on its own, and see where it goes. And for the most part, you will want to bump this setting up until you see no more noticeable drifting. And these parameters go from 0% to 15% maximum. Now going into outer dead zone. Outer dead zone is used to help players out who have slow turn on their controllers. And for those who are not aware what slow turn is when your controller doesn't turn in one or more directions at the maximum speed, aka your character looks faster to the right than to the left. For the most part, for me, there isn't any noticeable slow turn. Sometimes it is hard to see if a controller has slow turn or not. So if you're looking to get a no slow turn controller, you're going to have to look through a third-party controller. But my controller is fine. I see no noticeable slow turn, so I kind of just leave it alone. And by default, this setting is set to 10%. So I kind of just left it at this because I don't really want to mess with it. It's fine the way it is. So for the most part, I'll give you guys a quick explanation of what outer dead zone is. It is to prevent, like it says, quote unquote, slow turn. So outer dead zone is how much of your joystick you will need to use to reach the edge of your controller, aka a peg state. Meaning that right now, you can kind of hear just that click. That is the edge of my controller. That click means that I reached the edge of my controller. Now, what outer dead zone aims to change, how much of your joystick you'll have to move to reach that peg state. And the higher the number on this setting, the less you'll have to move your joystick to reach that peg state. And the parameters we have to work with are from 0% to 15% once again. So if I have it at 15%, this means that I will reach a peg state a lot quicker on the joystick without having to move my joystick all the way to the edge. So slowly, I'll start moving it. You'll see I start ramping up. And keep in mind that I am using a percentage of 15%, which means I will look much faster, and that is the maximum speed, as you can see, and I have not yet reached the edge. This is me reaching the edge. So it's very small, but it definitely does help out. If you see no real slow turn on your controller and you're not really sure if you should change it or not, I would say just leave it alone. Mine is default 10%. 15% is maybe a little too much for me, so 10% is fine. But that is pretty much all I really have to explain these advanced control settings. So like I said, these settings are kind of just a personal preference. This is something you will have to test out on your own. But if you like the way that the game played before, then don't even worry about these settings. It will not really make that much of a difference in reality. And for the most part, like I said, it's going to require a lot of testing, so you will need a good hour to 2 hours to be able to change these settings, test these out, go into a game, see how it feels, see how well your controller plays out with these settings. And that is pretty much it for me today, guys. It's kind of nice to see that 343 added a little bit more variety in custom settings, especially for a controller. So it kind of helps alleviate a few stressful things with having a slow turn controller and wanting to compete, but not having the money to buy a new controller that does not have slow turn. So with that, I will leave you with this question. What do you guys think about these settings? And since the update dropped, have you guys messed with these settings and how do you feel? Definitely let me know what you guys think about these settings. Like I said, everybody's settings are going to be a little bit different. And what do you guys think about the good rule of thumb? If you use a high sensitivity, are you using a low acceleration look speed? And if you are using a low sensitivity, are you using a high acceleration look speed? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you guys next time.